I volunteered to help coordinate and got myself in charge of the parent seating chart. I made sure Mrs. Thornton's biggest critics were sitting right behind her. During the show, I arranged for Lily to do a special introduction thanking all the teachers, except mysteriously forgetting Mrs. Thornton. When people asked why, I'd whisper about the red card situation. By intermission, every parent was side-eyeing Mrs. Thornton. Then came the class Valentine's party. I volunteered to bring supplies and showed up with everything in red. Red plates, red cups, red napkins, red decorations. I kept saying how much Lily loved the color red now thanks to seeing it so much this year. The other parents caught on and started making jokes about Lily's red card collection. Mrs. Thornton's face matched the decorations. The masterpiece was during Teacher Appreciation Week. I organized the class gift and suggested everyone write notes about what their kids learned this year. I helped Lily write hers, which said, "Thank you for teaching me that. Even when I try my best, it's not good enough, and that some people just won't like me no matter what." I made sure that card was right on top when Mrs. Thornton opened the gift in front of all the parents. The room went dead silent. Requested Reds is on Spotify now. Check out link in the description or comments. Mrs. Thornton's face turned bright red as she read the first few words of Lily's card out loud, her voice confident at first, but trailing off when she realized what she was saying. She shuffled it quickly to the bottom of the pile and tried to move on to the next card, but Michelle leaned forward with this sweet smile. She asked if we could pass the notes around, so everyone could read all the wonderful things the kids wrote. Mrs. Thornton's hands actually shook a little as she handed the stack to the parent next to her. I watched the cards make their way around the circle while Mrs. Thornton stood there frozen, her smile looking more like a grimace. Parents started reading, and their expressions changed from pleasant to confused to horrified. One mom covered her mouth with her hand. Another one glanced at Mrs. Thornton with raised eyebrows and then looked at me. The room got really quiet except for the sound of cards being passed around. Mrs. Thornton tried to laugh it off and said something about how kids have such interesting perspectives, but nobody laughed with her. The party wrapped up fast after that, with parents suddenly remembering they had places to be. Michelle caught up with me in the parking lot while I was buckling Lily into her car seat. She touched my arm and her voice was quiet but urgent. She told me her daughter Emma had been getting red cards for stuff that made no sense, like organizing her crayons during free time or asking to get a tissue. Michelle said she thought Emma was just having trouble adjusting to second grade and maybe being too sensitive. But after reading Lily's card and thinking about all the stories Emma had been telling her, she realized it wasn't Emma's fault at all. We stood there between our cars while the other parents drove past, and Michelle asked if we could meet for coffee tomorrow to talk about what was really happening in that classroom. I gave her my number, and we agreed to meet at the Starbucks near school at 9 in the morning. The next day I got there first and ordered my usual latte. Michelle showed up right at 9, but she had another woman with her. Michelle introduced her as Aaliyah and explained that she'd mentioned our coffee date to Aaliyah at drop-off that morning. Aaliyah's son was also in Mrs. Thornton's class, and when Michelle mentioned the red cards, Aaliyah practically begged to come along. We grabbed a table in the corner away from other people, and I pulled out my phone to show them photos of some of Lily's red cards. Aaliyah stared at them and then dug through her purse to show us her son's red cards from just this week. One was for breathing too loud during silent reading. Another was for fidgeting with his pencil during a lesson. Michelle pulled up photos on her phone too, and we spread them all out on the table between our coffee cups. The three of us started comparing notes about what our kids had been telling us, and a pattern emerged that made my stomach hurt. Mrs. Thornton had a group of kids she targeted constantly, while other children did the exact same behaviors without consequences. We decided right there that we needed to document everything our children told us about each school day. Aaliyah suggested we create a shared document where we could all add entries with dates and times and specific details about what happened. I left that coffee shop and drove straight to the school to schedule a meeting with the counselor. The secretary tried to tell me the counselor was booked up for weeks, but I said it was urgent regarding my daughter's mental health and I'd wait as long as necessary. The counselor found 10 minutes for me that afternoon. I sat in her tiny office surrounded by motivational posters and told her about Lily's stomach aches every morning and how she'd started having trouble sleeping. The counselor listened and took notes, nodding along like she'd heard this before. When I mentioned Mrs. Thornton's name, the counselor's pen stopped moving and she got this careful look on her face. She said she couldn't discuss other students due to privacy rules, but she'd seen several second graders this year with similar stress symptoms. Then she suggested I might want to talk to other parents to see if they had concerns too. The way she said it made it clear she was telling me something without actually telling me something. I thanked her and left, feeling like I'd just gotten confirmation that this was bigger than just Lily. That evening, Michelle called me and said she'd told her husband Curtis about everything we'd discovered at coffee. Curtis was on the school board, and Michelle said he was shocked because Mrs. Thornton had always gotten glowing reviews from the principal. She told me Curtis was going to quietly ask around with the other board members to see what they knew. 2 days later, Michelle texted me that Curtis had found out 3 other board members had received complaints about Mrs. Thornton this year. The principal never forwarded any of those complaints to the board like he was supposed to. Curtis was livid because the board was supposed to be informed about serious parent concerns, especially patterns of complaints about the same teacher.